When you play a video game, especially an action game, you generally expect a simulation of heroic martial prowess, essentially giving you a chance to become an unstoppable demigod, where no matter what happens, you are bound to come out on top. But sometimes, games will pull the rug out from under their players, leaving them stranded with few supplies, nowhere to hide, and no hope of making it out alive. So it's up to you to not go quietly into that good night, as we take a look at some of the best final stands in gaming. We'll be looking exclusively at final stands that the player themselves is in control of here, as it's the experience offered by playing through these scenarios that we're interested in. So unfortunately, we won't get to talk about things like Dom's tear-jerking heroic sacrifice in the end of Gears of War 3. But maybe it'll show up in a video in future. Also, there will be some spoilers in here for Halo Reach and the first Red Dead Redemption, but to be fair, they are quite old games, so I wouldn't worry too much. Now, the concept of a final stand generally goes against the usual method of storytelling in games, but it definitely does fit well for a consistent and solid gameplay loop. So it would be wrong to not mention the use of final stands to great effect in providing infinite wave-based survival modes. This concept is used everywhere in gaming, from incredibly popular Flash games to a lot of people's first experiments in making their own games to massive blockbuster AAA titles. The most famous of which, of course, being the zombies and survival modes in the Call of Duty series. These game modes fit remarkably well within Call of Duty's core gameplay system, and many gamers will have at least some fond memories of playing zombies in World at War or survival modes in the Modern Warfare series. I know I do. The essential basis of these modes are that the player is trapped within a fixed map space and subjected to wave after wave of enemies that they must try to survive for as long as possible, upgrading their equipment to improve their chances as waves become steadily more difficult, with no end to the onslaught. While these game modes might not be good vehicles for poignant storytelling, they are definitely great for just good, dumb fun gaming. Even though there isn't much possibility for a really meaningful or enriching experience, using these final stand scenarios allows games to provide a nice, simple, straightforward objective for players that can be repeated infinitely for potentially endless entertainment. And the thrills and terror that come about when it all starts to fall apart in these game modes can be really strong, making them an excellent example of using the final stand archetype to fuel a gameplay experience. The best time to have a final stand in a game is right at the very end, unsurprisingly. This is because at the end of a story, you don't have to worry about the fact that failing in a game is usually so impermanent. Games can take this chance to deliver a real harsh finality to the player, and a character making a final stand can be massively impactful, especially if it's a character you've spent so long with over the course of a game. A character who you've come to know and understand through experiencing their story with them, and who you've come to love. A character like John Marston. After spending hours and hours in Red Dead Redemption with John on his journey, seeing him struggle and develop and fight his way through to the end of the game, the stage is set for him to try and retire with his wife and child, and finally live a peaceful life. Unfortunately, however, there are people with different ideas for our hero, and John is forced to set his wife and child on their last horse to escape, and sees it as a chance for his son to be free from the mistakes of his father. Here we see John make the decision to stop running and have to watch in awe as he instead walks out to face a fight he has no chance of winning. Then the player once again takes control of John, standing in front of more enemies than you have any chance of defeating, and the dreadful realization hits when you see you aren't supposed to win. This is the end of the line for John. After so much running and fighting, his past has finally caught up with him, and he knows there's no way out, so he decides to march forwards and face the music. And in this moment, the player is forced to realise this, and despite everything they've done so far, nothing they can do now can save John. All they can do is let him go down with his gun in his hand. Then the visceral image of seeing the hero of the game get torn to shreds and go down for good hits you like a ton of bricks. This is the end of John Marston. He's gone, and with this, the story ends and the game is over. And making the player act out John's final actions makes this all the more impactful, and is a moment that many gamers will remember for a long time. But games don't have to rely on the strength of a character to make the end of a story really impactful. In fact, even through a faceless, voiceless protagonist, a game can show all of the meaning and emotion of facing down that one last fight. A fight like the one you find yourself in at the fall of Reach. After spending the campaign of Halo Reach with a noble team, fighting tooth and nail to save the planet from a Covenant invasion, losing the members of your team one by one as they sacrifice themselves in futile efforts to save each other and complete the mission, all that's left is you, Noble 6, who, after staying behind to cover an evacuation, are left stranded and alone on a planet that has already been taken by the enemy. At this point, every character you care about in the game is gone, many of them having sacrificed themselves to save you, only so that you could keep progressing through and making failed attempts at completing the mission. In the end, all your own sacrifice could do was buy some people enough time to escape, with you left beaten and surrounded. And it's here, in the epilogue of the game, that the player experiences the real futility of their own final stand. In the waves of enemies and the dwindling supplies and the ever-increasing odds, a real sense of despair sets in, as you know that it's already over. All that's left to do is to see the fight through to its bitter end and the game's conclusion. In a medium that is so recognised for respawning and retrying infinitely until you prevail, this ability to give the player a real sickening sense of despair is a rarity, which only makes it all the more potent. And while it's not the same as seeing a character like John Marston finally fall, the player's realisation that there's nothing they can do, that they've already failed and all they're fighting now is just flailing as they go down, is no less memorable, and is in some ways more impactful due to its more personal nature. Then, after holding on as best you can, you are inevitably overwhelmed, and Noble 6 discards their cracked helmet before finally fading out, in one of the most recognisable moments from the whole series. What are some of your favourite final stands in video games? Did I miss any really cool ones, and which have had the biggest impact on you? Please let us know in the comments, as I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and feel free to share my videos wherever you want, because it did really help me out. There are plenty of other videos on the channel that you might enjoy as well, and you can subscribe, ring the bell and follow me on Twitter for updates. I've been thinking of doing more list videos. Some will be more serious and analytical like this one was, and some will just be fun videos about stuff I think is cool, so please let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. For now though, thank you again for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye!